Hello and welcome, fourth day of January 2018. My name is Derek and welcome to the Money Charts channel. All bets, trades of the like with one's each own risk and their own reward. And this Ethereum market is just crazy as it continues to proceed towards the upside. It had its first nice leg higher, reaching resistance at this point. Had a couple resistance tests of such. The first load of sellers came in and you had some decent profits, so the first wave got them through, and now we've had a second wave, or having a second wave current tense starting from this low in here. This day is only 45 minutes into the session and it's already got a gain so far against Bitcoin of 3 1/3%. Scrolling on through the 4-hour term, there we can see how it's just leaving the 18 average band after having 3 periods consolidating amongst the 18 highs. On the single hour time frame, again, because this is just 45 minutes in, it's this hour that is making the gains. Just this hour alone has those 3.3% gains. In the 15-minute chart showing as well, it breaks this level of resistance, comes up to that situation I talk about that is very interesting. You're at a previous high in here. How much resistance are you going to have? On the 15, there was absolutely none. We may see some on the 1 minute coming in on very high volume and continuation of markets going higher. That's why I say the current tense of this market going up. Absolutely no resistance at all in the 5. And amongst the 1 minute term time frame, once again, no resistance there at all. So the move comes from the 401 handle, doing so basically leaving at 7:11 p.m. and then just quickly coming up to the 412. So a difference of about a little over 2% and only in about 7 or so minutes. And as it's playing through on just a single minute time frame, nothing here to state that this current run is over, as I see after a few periods in this 18 average coming up, having this high established back to the band, and now having some the last couple minutes above it. So therefore this thing should continue on towards the upside for at least who knows how much more of a larger leg. The daily time frame, of course, going up, and as I've been stating, amongst the weekly chart, with a lot of these markets against Bitcoin, when they decide to go, they can really go. And when we see this was below the 18 and here had this run, when it was below the 18, it had this run, now it's below the 18, and so far we're right here. Let's cover Omi's Go next. And within such, here we're on the daily. There's your decline in here. Stage 1, band flattening out. Stage 2, establish a level of resistance. Stage 3, come back to the band. Okay. So from that last move higher, it's been a week and change, closer to 2 within the correctionary mode. Support has been successful thus far within where I'd want it to come in. 18 lows, always the great spot for such. But now as we look at this over the last couple of days, showing the lows higher, thus staying within the 18 highs. Does it seem poised, question mark, for that of a breakout? Amongst the 4-hour term, this thing looks as if it may be poised for a potential decent leg higher, and at least when I see this, a test of the previous high. So we're looking at a move in the 39s to go over maybe to the next level. Well, maybe that's what it would be, I would consider. The next test mark at about the 44 handle. And a 44 handle test mark, looking back at the daily, would bring you that very interesting situation where you have this, you have successful support. If you come up there, especially if it does it rapidly, it gets above there, breaks resistance, and it's a quick move to this level. So many scenarios that can take place. It could be a key top and we could see further prices decline later, but other things when we meet this point in here, if there's a decent sized rally to this level, Do we have a correctionary mode where we come back maybe as deep before going higher? Does it just stabilize in this point, then make the move? But when you have a play like this, if it's able to get above that key next level, you'd have to take serious considerations for where you'd want to consider next level of resistance. And to me, I see a congestion area in here. And amongst the weekly, well, the 18 average of highs is in at about the 468 handle. If it gets above that, like I've stated with a lot of these markets, when they get above the key 18 highs and they go, this thing from the start went from the 203 handle all the way up to the 2700 handle. It had like a 12x move, and it did so in a relatively quick period of time. I'm not saying it's ready to go, but it's not a surprise that when it is and it breaks above, you could have some very good moves there after the fact. And for now, because we're looking at this with a short-term analysis, is it ready for that break higher? Because getting above in here does show that that potential is most certainly coming into place. Single hour time frame, when I look at something like this, as far as where we stand right now, here's that level of support, retest of previous high, retest of this level. So this is a double bottom. Two U-shaped, V-shaped formations, there they are in here. It's got to get above that neckline, but it does seem as if it's poised to have a good shot of doing so. I like the probability odds of this market having a nice leg higher up to this key previous level of resistance than it would, say, to come down to this previous level of support as its next key move. We'll let the market now decide from here on in what's going to happen, because the market's obviously going to do what it's going to do. And Litecoin just keeps on continuingly how am I going to phrase this? The setup keeps getting stronger and stronger. It hasn't done anything yet to put the breakthrough in. This does look poised for a break. So let's look at resistance. And I want to say so a lot less than I normally do. However, in proper context and used sparingly, I think it's still a good word to use. All of these levels of resistance have been in place. Now we're entering the fourth day of just sticking around this 18 highs. All of these inverted head and shoulders patterns that I've talked about, when you consider we have the left shoulder in here, we have the head in here, the right shoulder, and even within the right shoulder, you have a left shoulder, a head, and a right shoulder. As it goes, there's just a lot of this resistance here that it's been coming into play. The more often the key levels, either resistance or support, is tested, the more likely it is to be that of taken out. And it does look as if there's a very high probability we're getting all of these higher lows, uptrend lines in high rate of ascent still intact. Within the 4-hour term, there's these higher lows. And resistance has been tested quite some time. There's only like one little small area it could have a higher low while playing this ascending triangle. Therefore, it's at that key moment time, decision day as I like to call it, for a pattern of this nature, ascending triangle. And then on the single hour, we could again see furthermore, there was this resistance test here. This deep price correction filled some of this empty space. Keyword, it only filled some. Thus, it made a higher low to this one in here. Came back, and when I see this, I want to see a higher low from this one. An improvement on the sell-off. That's what I seen. Not as big of a sell-off. Little test of the 18 highs. Little test of the 18 lows. There's the breakout within this current hour in itself. And even short term, just like Ethereum, this thing does seem poised and ready to get going. And if there's any price corrections that come down to this area here and it just goes back up, it would be doing the same thing, just keeping a strong setup in place. But to me, it's just a matter of time before a breakout occurs amongst the Litecoin chart. And in looking at Litecoin against the US fiat debt note dollar, the strength amongst the 18 highs, how it's been correcting it for quite some time. The resistance established on Christmas Eve, which was also established there as well. You can make a case, the left shoulder here, the head, the right shoulder. Regardless, it's that similar sort of pattern And the reason why inverted head and shoulders pattern works so well is because you have a situation in which you have a rally from a low, and in order to make a head on this spot, you have to make a lower one, which is in bear markets a normal thing. But to complete the head formation, you can't find resistance at this point, at least not for long. You need to find resistance at its previous one. So you need to match the sell-off, which is exactly what it did. And then on a price correction, a higher low is always important. Thus, the 18 average of lows came into play. It just ironically happened to match within this previous level. And of course, since then, just the nice, beautiful pattern. There's a little bit of empty space from here to here. Short term, I think that's all that might mean. Maybe it does something like this before it breaks out, but I wouldn't be surprised if on a break of this level, it doesn't take too many days or periods, and in this case on the daily chart, it is days as well as periods, to only take a few, 3, 4, 5, even 1, to have significant gains that should take it even up to the 50-ish level. And of course, within the extreme volatility of the markets, this thing has went from like $1, $2 up to like 400, down to 22, now up to 32. So a move up to like 55, 60. There's going to be a lot of people saying, well, yeah, that's fine and dandy, but I remember when 120 was a good deal to buy, or at least one soon thought. Well, there's a lot of volatility in these markets, which is why if it has big moves, both then it doesn't shock me, because I expect it within the metagame. And I mean metagame within how the markets move, or what you would expect along the generality. Earlier I talked about Tron being a good play, I thought, for today, and was I right, was I wrong? Well, I'll let other people or yourself be the judge of that. However, nice little run today starting at about 12:30 in the afternoon. It's been correcting a little bit since that point. Onto Bitcoin, which is something I start the video off, and I'm going to go through this one relatively quickly because it's maintaining its price action within this 18 average band. Short term, though, it looks like it might have the energy possibly to get out of it. When we take a look at this on the 4-hour term, a higher low in here, trying to get out of this in such single hour time frame. Nice little move in this point in here. But what I like here on the 15 is you have this level of resistance, nice correction through time, establishing in here. If this is able to get going in the next little bit, then maybe you can get out above this, but markets like Ethereum and Litecoin doing very well, and we could be in line for at least a leg higher. Whether this would be a bottom area, I don't know how this is going to work out, in the sense that if we have a breakout above here, that could still work out to be a lower high that has still more selling. How long this bear market will go on for, not too sure. I'm playing for whatever the market does, work the volatility, and play the buy low, sell high strategy. Because Ethereum and Litecoin are going up, I'm going to be expecting that I'll be selling both those coins amongst those base currencies for altcoins. As Ethereum going up will mean altcoins will go down against such, so my buy order should fill there, selling Ethereum on the high. Same thing on Litecoin, and that's how I'm perceiving everything. And yeah, that will be it for the video. I'd like to thank you for tuning in, and have yourself a great weekend. Bye-bye.